have here is based upon a template that we received from the district attorney and that a number of districts in the region use. We made some adjustments here and there to reflect our district in particular, and to sort of highlight some of the district's goals. We had a collaborative process where we worked together as a policy subcommittee with the superintendent, and also Chief Alberti came and spoke with us about his understanding of the SRO role, and passed a draft back and forth a few times. I think to speak to what we were really aiming for with this particular memorandum was to bring it up into the sort of 21st century understanding of the SRO position, make sure it's really up to date in its language and in its emphases. And so it's looking at really making sure that we have articulated goals and articulated boundaries such that the SRO is offering a resource for the school, making sure that the school is safe and violence-free, while we're also ensuring that school-based discipline is really handled by teachers, and that we are outlining our goal that the presence of police officers in the school building shouldn't result in increased contact with students with the justice system, but that it should be a really positive role that is there to protect students while also protecting students' civil rights. And so this MOU also outlines various forms of training and background that SRO position should be informed by, including non-discriminatory policing and interaction with students on the basis of race or ethnicity, religion, LGBTQ, disabilities.
There you go.
One of those D words. So that way our police officer in the building has the same kind of training and is treating students with equity in the same way that all staff and faculty are.
I think another. Can I add to that? Is that okay?
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Another thing that we included was that there was, and you can read the whole document. It's pretty long. Included was data collection and monitoring. So we'll have data collected throughout the year, just about like what the incident reports are within the schools, kind of how the SRO is being used within the schools, like how many calls for service there have been, crimes, that have been committed in adjacent to the schools or in the schools, and like all of that will be compiled into a report or like more like a presentation that school committee will receive at the end of the year, just to like make sure that we're keeping up, that our goals with the SRO are being we're on the right track, basically. And one thing that I thought was important, so like my background is special education, and in particular working with students with autism spectrum disorders, and my experience as working in schools as a consultant in my previous job before the job I have now, I was often just really disturbed by a lot of the discipline that I saw those students experiencing, not in our schools, in other schools in the area. I never actually did any work in the Easthampton schools. And one of the things that I found was really helpful is when they did have a relationship with the adults that they were working with. So when when there was an adult involved in kind of a disciplinary incident with a student, and this is true for all students, I think, if there was a pre-existing relationship and they knew each other and the student already trusted that person, things went much better and things were much safer for the student and for other students in the school. And another thing that I've been very aware of in my work is the number of times that schools do have to contact the police during the day, and a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with what the students in the school are actually doing. It's things like somebody's non-custodial parent has shown up and is demanding that they leave with them, or there's something like really sketchy happening on the same block and they're worried about how it will affect the students, or there's been like a note that's been found that's that's scary. And so like we would be talking to the police in those situations anyway. So I'd rather we talk to somebody who knows us and knows our schools and knows our kids and knows our community versus just calling up whatever state trooper happens to be answering the phone that day, you know. So that was kind of the way that I approached this. And I just wanted to make sure that folks knew that, because I think this is a really delicate topic right now, and there's a lot of baggage that goes along with it, and I just wanted to be like transparent about how we were, the questions we were asking, and what we were thinking about when we were doing this. So I think I'm happy with what we've come up with, you know, and we approached it really intentionally and really carefully. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry.
Well, I think like anything else in our community, number one, I think the police chief was commendable and did everything possible to work with the school committee and the members and our superintendent, and, you know, providing drafts, looking at, you know, the DA's office, looking at different drafts and going over things and working it over. So I think it's just, I think our community policing here in Easthampton speaks for itself. And just having that camaraderie and the friendliness and the welcomingness of our police department, and having it actually be not only part of our community but part of our schools, I think speaks bounds. And again, just the collaboration of the chief, the superintendent, and the school committee all working on the same draft to get to the same end, something that meets all of our needs.
And I would also like to express my appreciation to the chief for his collaboration with us. And he did send our interim school resource officer, Officer Rick Rogalski, to school resource officer training for 2 weeks. He's completed that training. And I think as Cindy Klozinski mentioned this evening, Officer Rogalski joined us today at the training. So he's very excited about the position and very willing and wanting to learn and to be an important member of our school community.
Right. And it's nice when somebody's not just appointed to a position, but really wants that position, appreciates it, and makes it theirs. It's very different.
And this actually ties into something that we asked Chief Alberti about, which was like, is there, like, because I don't know very much about how police training happens and like how people become police, because I don't think the Police Academy movies are actually accurate. But one of the things that we asked was like, is there like an SRO track? Like, do people like join, become police officers because they want to become school resource officers? And he said that like generally, like, I mean, he hasn't heard about anybody doing that. So I guess I just want to put it out there too that, if this is the sort of work that you're interested in doing, I think that a lot of people who might be interested in this work don't necessarily realize that they could do it through being a police officer. So I think it was just something I hadn't thought about.
And it's very different than being on the beat.
Yeah,
it's very different than the beat cop, and very different. So I think it's very commendable that we have somebody that's very interested in being our SO officer.
That's a big deal too.
It is a huge deal.
I know that was something we were concerned about. We didn't want to just get somebody slotted in who to fill a space. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the partnership and the collaboration there, and the training for the school resource officer, because this person, like anyone, we would ask to be trained to be with our students. And
we do say in the agreement that we want them to attend our professional development trainings.
Nice.
So that was a big part of our discussions, was making sure that they were involved as a staff member in the school, in the same training.
And it goes without saying that as a police officer, they have all kinds of training. This was just an added plus that this training today was available, and obviously willing to go and happy to go, but they're trained in many ways as an officer before they get to this point.
Right. Of course, and as an officer who's in the schools, it's a little bit different than an officer who's on the street. So it goes without saying that they're trained.
Right.
It's another piece of the training, which I think is really important and goes to the trust.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at someone, in some ways, yes, the police are there to protect us, and then for some, based on history or experience or however their upbringing is, it hasn't necessarily been that way for what they have experienced in their life. And so trust is important so that, you know, if there ever is an issue, that someone feels comfortable going to
Very
school resource
comfortable.
officer too. So I think
Very
it's-
important. The comfort is very important.
Yeah. So I appreciate all of the work that you guys have done, and it's really clearly laid out here. And so it's a really good foundation for the expectation